Okay. We'll get to the 2020 A-level question. So you will realize, guys, now when we do the 2020, 21, 22, right, you will realize that it's the same question that has come over and over again. Okay. So we'll start with 2020 question number 4. What is a production function? Distinguish between the short run and long run production function. The same question was there in a previous paper. Which paper is that? So what's the production function? You can say the production function shows the technical relationship between what and what, the technical relationship between the inputs and the outputs in the production process. So what's the difference between the short run and the long run production function? In the short run production function, usually capital is fixed and labor is variable. You can, write that function which I explained. In the long run production function, all factors are variable, which is capital and labor are both variable, which we would have discussed in detail, guys. Which paper is this? 2011. Question number. Question number. Not one. There was an essay question also, right? On this, I remember I typed the thing. Question 3. Subsection. Subsection 1. Okay. So, right. So this is the same question that we had. There's also one more thing. Have you all now nicely written answers? Do you all have like a collection of your answers properly filed along with the PDF that I sent you? Does it feel good? Do you all have at least around 100 pages of my paper and the answers that you all have written on full scan? So my tute itself is around 20 pages. 2011 is not a production function. Yes, there was a production function question. Can you tell me which question is not 2011 3-1? There was this exact question repeated in a previous paper. I nicely remember talking about 2012. 2012. Question number 3, subsection 1. Now, right. So, okay. Please make sure that you all write right answers. Okay, at the end of this past paper program, when you itself see, right, you will itself see the PDF of mine that I have sent. You have printed, you have done the MCQs in that, you have done the essay questions on full scaps, you have attached that also. And when you see that you have around 200 to 300 pages of answers, past papers that you have done, you will feel so confident, right, that you can write this exam. And the best thing is, so far, for the units that we have done, I'm guessing it has become easy. Unit number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now 4 is also based on the answers that you all are giving me. I see that you all have picked it up and you all are finding it very easy. So the same thing will happen when we do the other units also. So don't lose focus and don't lose track. 2020, 2012 only talks about the short run. Okay, so then what can you write about the long run, guys? So in the long run production function, you can say the long run is a time period where all factors of production can change. So as a result, according to the long run production function, you can say there will be all factors will be variable. So labor will also be variable, capital also will be variable. So you can say L1, L2, L3 all the way until Ln. You can say K1, K2, K3 all the way until Kn as well. That's the production function. Very easy. Going to the next. What are the reasons for economies of scale and diseconomies of scale? Yes, did we? I remember we talked about economies of scale and I talked about the reasons in detail, right? So what is economies of scale? Economies of scale is where the long run average cost is starting to come down, right? Where the long run average cost decreases. This is called economies of scale. Then what are the reasons that we had? The reasons that we had was we had technological efficiencies, right? We had managerial efficiencies, right? We had, actually, I'm not going to type everything, guys. You had technological, you had marketing, you had managerial, right? You had all of that. Okay. That part we have discussed. But what about diseconomies of scale? Yes, what are diseconomies of scale? What is this? This is where the long run average cost, what is happening? The long run average cost is now starting to increase. Yes, what are the reasons for this? Oh no, you don't have to write too much about the definition, guys. 2013, third one, fourth one, economies of scale. Right. So economies of scale is 2013, third question, subsection 4, right? So diseconomies of scale, guys, you can all, what you can write is the reasons are the opposite of this, guys. So things like what? Managerial inefficiencies, technological inefficiencies, right? So the reasons for diseconomies of scale, you have managerial inefficiencies. What are managerial inefficiencies? For example, let's say now you have become a very huge firm, right? You have so much of managers now, right? So as a result, what happens? Now, now it's very hard to coordinate, right? You have around 1,000, 2,000 managers. No, I don't think you have to explain because they're only asking what are the reasons. So give around 4 reasons for this and the 4 reasons for the other one. Half a mark each should be fine. If you want, you can write a small line about it. That's okay. It will make your answer better. But they're asking what? So you don't have to go and explain too much. Okay. So then you can talk about technological inefficiencies. What are technological inefficiencies? This is where you have now got the latest technology, so much of machines and things. And now what's happening is those are starting to depreciate. Now you have to look at replacing those, right? That is a huge cost there. Okay. So, those kind of reasons you can give in case. So technological inefficiencies, marketing inefficiencies, that inefficiency, the same things that you have for this thing, the same things that you have for economies of scale, you call it efficiencies. No? For diseconomies of scale, you can say that it's inefficiency. And remember in the fast track calls, I told you all, go through each one of these guys because they can give in a question because in your year, they might simply ask you to, for 4 marks, explain what is marketing economies of scale or marketing efficiencies when it comes to economies of scale. They can give you a question like that. So you need to know how to answer because the examiner also might get tired asking the same question again and again and again. Is that okay, guys? Can you all handle something like that? You don't have to write too much for something like 2011 or 13, 11. Okay. Going to the next. What is the relationship between economic profit, producer surplus, and fixed cost? What's the relationship? Remember, producer surplus is what we did discuss this in a before question, right? In a previous question, is equal to total revenue minus total variable cost. Economic profit is what? Economic profit is total revenue minus total cost. So in other words, that is total revenue, right? That is total revenue minus total fixed cost and total variable cost. You're minusing both. So what's the difference between? That's what they're asking, guys. Now it's a small 3-mark question. So you can start off your answer by saying producer surplus is the difference between total revenue and total variable cost. Give the equation. And on the other hand, economic profit is the difference between total revenue and total cost. And you can say that is fixed cost and variable cost. So in other words, you can say, now can you see there is a relationship here, right? The difference between producer surplus and economic profit is the fixed cost, no? So also you can, now if I give an equation like this, do you think it's correct? If I say economic profit equals producer surplus minus fixed cost. Do you think that's correct? I'm saying economic profit equals producer surplus minus fixed cost. Think, guys, take a minute and think. What is producer surplus? Producer surplus is total revenue minus variable cost. Okay. from that, if you minus the fixed cost also, you get economic profit, right? This is correct. Take some time and think. So, these are the things that you can write, guys. You can say produce surplus is this minus this. So, okay, now look at this case. Producer surplus equals TR minus TBC, right? So, TR, okay, I'll write this equation this way. Look at this here. Minus total fixed cost. See this total revenue minus total fixed cost. Here, the one that I am putting in red here. Total revenue minus total variable cost, sorry, right? That is equal to your producer surplus. Okay, that is what I am saying here also. Here, this is also same thing. Total revenue minus total variable cost. So from this, if you minus the fixed cost also, you get economic profit. That's the same thing that I'm writing here. Producer surplus minus fixed cost. Now, these equations have a small idea because now next year they can give you calculations from this. They might not ask you to explain the thing. They might give you some numbers. Producer surplus this much, fixed cost is this much, calculate how much is the economic profit, calculate this, calculate that. They can give you this thing, or they can even give you MCQ without directly asking you to explain the thing. Can handle something like that. You need to write what I explained in words. And you can give the equation also. No problem at all. But it's only a 3-mark question, so you don't have to write pages and pages. Moving to the next. What is economic rent? Right? That we learned already. So what is economic rent? Economic rent is what a factor of production earns above the minimum that he expects. Then what is this? What are the conditions a factor of production? Under what conditions a factor of production can earn an economic rent? Remember, I told you this depends on elasticity. Okay. Now remember, this is a 4-mark question. So for 2 marks, can you write this? What is economic rent? You can explain no economic rent. There is something like this. So whatever he gets more than his transfer earnings, that is what you call economic rent. That part you can write. This is the part that you will get a little stuck. Okay, you're going to get a little stuck. At what conditions this happens? So what are the conditions? Okay. Now think, for you to have an economic rent, right? What's this very careful? Yeah, which part is economic rent? Economic rent is this part. When will there not be an economic rent? When supply is what, guys? Think about elasticity a little. When supply is what, will you not have economic rent? If supply is perfectly elastic, right? Now I'm trying to move this line. I can't move the line. Okay, so if I'll draw another diagram. Okay, if the supply, now this is the demand, supply is perfectly elastic, then there is no economic rent, right? Then this entire thing will be transfer earning. So in what condition will you have an economic rent? So as long as supply is not perfectly elastic, you can say that the factor of production will earn some sort of economic rent. Let me show you the actual marking scheme answer. See, you will see that they have not written much, guys. You don't have to say perfectly inelastic also. Any other situation, you will be earning economic rent. Give me a second. Let me show you the actual marking scheme answer. This is the 2020 paper, no? 2020 answer. Okay, look at this. Okay, I'll go to the answer scheme. 2020, question number 3, question number 4. Which one? The 4th one, no? Right. 2022 answer scheme, guys, I sent on the group. Read the messages that come on the group. Okay. Here, look at this, right? They say here, economic rent is the income received by the owner, okay, of the factor of production above the minimum that he requires. And then you say the minimum that he requires is called the opportunity cost. In other words, that is called transfer earnings. See, 2 marks for explaining what is economic rent. You say economic rent is whatever the person earns more than his minimum expectation. Minimum expectation is transfer earnings. Now look at this here. The portion of factor of income consists of economic rent depends on elasticity of supply. They have started the small thing. Then they say here, when supply is perfectly inelastic, entire area is economic rent. Correct, guys? If your supply is demand, if supply is perfectly inelastic, then this entire thing is economic rent. When the supply is perfectly elastic, that's what I drew in my board, then none of it is economic rent. So then look at this 1 mark there. In general, when the supply is neither perfectly elastic or no perfectly inelastic, some part of the factor income is economic rent and the other part is the opportunity cost, which is what you call transfer earnings. See, thus any factor can earn economic rent if the supply has some degree of inelasticity. Remember I told you, as long as it's not perfectly elastic. Now, when it's perfectly elastic, you don't have any economic rent at all. Even if it is a little inelastic, let's say elastic, unitary, inelastic, perfect inelastic, there is economic rent. So can you see they are not explaining a lot, right? It's a normal, it's a 2 marks for this. And then here they are starting their answer. That's what I also told again. Now that's why you need to write answers, right? Remember I told you supply depends, the area depends on elasticity. See, that's the first point that they write. Then they write these also. And then they say, you know, this is divided like this and this. So as long as it's not perfectly elastic, or as long as there is some degree of inelasticity, there will be an economic rent. Is that okay? Manageable? Is all these marking schemes are there in the drive that I have attached in the group description. So you can always go back to this latest marking schemes and see. In your WhatsApp group description, there is a Google Drive link that I have made for all the past papers. Yeah, so you can go and check. Right, we'll come back. So this question, I guess you can handle. Then we'll come to the last one. Okay. How do you derive the industry's short-run supply curve from the firm's short-run supply curve in a perfectly competitive industry? Illustrate your answer with appropriate diagrams. Now, instead of drawing the diagram, since I have the answer scheme open, let me show you. It's a question that has been repeated again and again and again, right? See, what is the question? First, you talk about what is the firm's supply curve. The firm's supply curve is what? The firm supply curve is the marginal cost curve above the minimum average variable cost, right? So see, that is one. Then they are saying to construct the industry supply curve, what do? We have to add all the firms, no? So you get the addition of all the firm supply curves, then you get the industry supply curve. See, that's what they are saying here. Yeah. To construct the industry supply curve, we sum the quantity supplied by all firms in the industry. Okay. Then at the shutdown price, see, at the shutdown price, right? Industry supply curve is horizontal. As the price rises above the shutdown price, the quantity supplied increases. And see, they have given a small diagram. Look at this. They give you a 3 marks for the diagram. This is the firm supply curve. If you want, you can draw the ABC curve here and show also. Right? You can say this is the marginal cost curve, but you have to properly highlight it. Properly highlight that this is the supply curve. And then the addition of all these supply curves is what you call the industry supply curve. So when you add this, it comes like this. That's the industry's supply curve. Okay. The numbers here are right. The number here they have given in thousands, so it's okay, because otherwise you will wonder firm supply is also 10, industry supply is also 10. But they are assuming that this is in thousands. That means it's 10,000. So one firm is supplying, let's say 10 kilos of rice. The total industry, let's say there are 1,000 firms. So in total, they'll be supplying 10,000 kilos. So remember, when you're putting numbers also, be careful, because if you put 10 here and 10 here, theoretically it's wrong, because the industry is the collection. That's why they have put here in thousands. Got it? So 3 marks for the diagram, 3 marks for an explanation. Is that okay? These are not hard questions, guys, but these are questions that you have to practice writing. Otherwise, you can't write. There is nothing new that you can learn from this. It's the writing part that you have to learn. You know that the short run supply curve is the marginal cost above this. You know, if you add all the short run supply curves, you get the industry supply curve, right? All of that you know. This diagram also you somewhat know, but how to properly put it into an answer is what you need to learn. And that's why I keep on telling every single day, you need to write answer. Looking at my face is not going to be enough. Is the line going from 10 years? No, guys, the line goes from here, guys. The line at this price, it's not here. It goes like this, right? So at from here onwards, it's also increase. That's the industry supply, not like this and this. No. Okay. Firm supply curve below the ABC is a vertical line. Yeah, so this also, you know, is like this, but here we don't draw this. Yeah, even though this is like this, we don't draw that. Okay. Right, let's come back. Can you all handle something like that, guys? Same question, kind of repeated in a different way. They made a small change to the question. There is nothing else. Well, there were previous questions also asking about the, I think 2013, right? The connection between the marginal cost curve and the industry supply curve. Can you say? I remember something like 2013. Yeah, that should be a question, just check, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. That's the 2020 A-level paper. They asked you about the third question, part 2. Production function and this. They asked you about economies and diseconomies of scale. They asked about relationship between these. They asked you about economic rent. And then they asked you about this. Like, this paper was a little harder than the previous paper. Not that it's hard, comparatively hard, because you didn't get easy questions like what are the characteristics of this perfect compression and stuff. You didn't get a calculation that was easy, right? So it was a little comparatively hard. Okay, right. That's the 2013 question 3 part 2. Okay, right. Anything else, guys? We move to the next. We have 2 more papers to discuss.